All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Gators Online Show. This is our rapid reaction show. Zach is at Kyle Field. Zach Albaverdi of Gators Online is at Kyle Field, where he just watched Florida lose to number 5 Texas A&M 34-17, a game that started with promise, but unfortunately for Florida, ended, Zach, like a lot of Florida's games have ended the last few seasons, a disappointing loss. Just your quick thoughts here before we dig into the details.
Yeah, another disappointing game where Florida just struggled on third down. Second time in 3 games where they've just been abysmal on the money down. Another time, third time, where they've been on the road against a top 5 team in the fourth quarter and still, despite their issues, have had an opportunity to still be in the game. And they blew it in the fourth quarter. They get a turnover by Jordan Castell on the first play of that quarter. Decide to go for it at midfield on fourth down after a terrible 3rd and 6 call where they ran the ball, and then they don't get it. A&M scores on a touchdown. It was basically 7 points off of a turnover there, and then Lagway's fumble at the end basically doomed any chances that they had of coming back.
Again, promise at the start, and I think that's what's so frustrating for Gator fans. You're looking at this team; they go right down the field on the first drive. Of course, A&M goes right back and scores. But on its third drive, Florida again goes down the field, scores. DJ Lagway is looking great. The offensive line's blocking. The running game is clicking. Gators had over 150 yards in the first quarter, Zach. Lagway was 10 of 12 for something like 128 yards. Well, they had barely just a little bit more than that production the rest of the game. They did almost more in the first quarter than they did in the final 3 quarters. So one team clearly made adjustments better than the other. One team clearly executed better than the other. And the fact that Florida lost 34-17, really is an indictment on where things are at right now, because this game should have come down to the final possession, the way it was set up. It should have just been one of those games. And at the end of the day, Florida didn't make plays. You mentioned that third down, Zach. How about this? Florida was 1 of 11 on third down. Remember the Miami game we were at a few weeks ago? That pathetic 0 for 13.
It ended up being 1 of 10, not 1 of 11.
1 of 10, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, pardon me.
It was 1 of 11. They sit in the game notes. But
1 of 10, okay. And then also 0 of 1 on fourth down. Texas A&M was 9 of 17 on third down. And in fact, Zach, they didn't even have a third down in the game on their first couple of drives. Okay, they just went right down the field.
Well, and of those 9, 3 came on 1 touchdown drive, 4 came on another touchdown drive.
Yeah,
so when they scored, they converted on third down.
Total yards. How about this? Texas A&M 417. Now, a lot of that came in the first half, and about almost 200, 196 in the first quarter alone. So Florida's defense settled down and kept Florida in the game. But offensively, after scoring 14 points in the fourth quarter, Florida just went into a shell.
And I got to mention, like, as bad as the third down issues were, and as bad as certainly that fourth down call was, you're going for it at midfield with 13 minutes left and you're only down 7. That was a really bad decision by Napier. Again, in hindsight, but this was one of the few games where Florida's defense actually did not show up to start, gave up touchdowns on the Aggies' first 3 drives. You mentioned the great start that the Gators had offensively, and then boom, 2 plays. The Aggies go right down the field with a 67-yard bomb and Marcel Reed's touchdown run. So those struggles early put Florida in a hole. You got to give the defense credit. They did settle down after that point, and they made the plays in the second half to allow Florida to be in a position to tie the game in the fourth quarter. They get that pick in the end zone, Jordan Castell, and the Gators do nothing with it.
So again, Florida 319 total yards, 158, 160 in the first quarter. So not much after that. Florida's DJ Lagway, the quarterback, 245 yards passing, but again, 10 of 12 in the first quarter. I think only 11 of 25 after that. Marcel Reed, Texas A&M's quarterback, 237 yards, 1 touchdown, and you mentioned the 1 interception.
He was great.
Yeah. Here's an interest again, a key stat. We always say, how important is it to run? Well, it's important to run because you need that offensive versatility. Once you become one-dimensional, and we'll get into that in a second, because one of the teams tonight did become one-dimensional, it's game over, really. Texas A&M 237 yards passing, 183 yards on the ground on 42 carries. Meanwhile, Florida only carried the ball 24 times while throwing 39 times. On those 24 carries, Zach, 74 yards, 3.1 yards a carry. Florida effectively was made one-dimensional, sort of abandoned the run. And we saw that happen at LSU. They abandoned the run, and same result, basically. You didn't have the 5 interceptions, but the same result. Pressure. How about this? Florida, after sacking Arch Manning 6 times last week, does not sack Marcel Reed 1 time tonight. And I think if the stats are right, Florida had 1 QB hurry the whole game. Texas A&M had 3 sacks and 5 or 6 QB hurries, also 6 tackles for loss. Florida didn't have a lot of tackles for loss. So, you add it all up. You start adding up. It wasn't one thing or another. It was a lot of things. A lot of things, So, Zach, just another frustrating loss. Florida fans are livid right now because, again, I felt like, and you might have as well, I'm going to ask you, it felt a little bit like the LSU game in the sense that it was there. They hung around. Yeah. It was there for the taking. So, why didn't they get this done? I mean, that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you can point to so many issues. The third down woes that they had, the points off turnovers that A&M had, some of the costly penalties that Florida committed, some of the decisions that they made, game management wise, situational football wise, just so many things, reoccurring issues that keep happening with this team. They have been hit with a tough slate. They've lost 3 games on the road against top 5 teams. But I think what makes that even tougher to swallow as a team and as a program, as a fan base, is that in every one of those games, you were in it in the fourth quarter, despite all the issues that you've had offensively. And then tonight, some of the slow start on defense. So that's what's the most frustrating thing, I think, for fans, is that they see that this is a team that can compete with top 5 opponents. They just can't beat them in the fourth quarter.
Eventually, you always sort of revert back to who you are. And this team, quite frankly, has, I don't want to say melted, but I mean, kind of in the fourth quarter. You got the USF game, right? You have a chance to put it away. They go down the field. They kick the winning field goal. LSU, the game's right there. You can't do anything offensively. Miami, the game's right there. You've closed within 6. You're driving. You have a receiver run a 2-yard route on a 3-yard play where you need 3. You can't finish. You end up losing by 3 touchdowns instead of, back.
And I didn't mention this too. I mean, the times that Florida had in the second quarter, their 4-minute and 2-minute offense, 2 possessions that they had there with an opportunity to tie the game before the half. They do nothing with it. And then, again, we mentioned it early, but the possessions that they had in the fourth quarter where the defense was still getting stops, getting a turnover, and Florida does nothing with it. That's the most probably the most frustrating thing is I think fans want to see the offense capitalize in those moments, and they did it.
It keeps happening, Zach, and Billy Napier has never beaten a ranked team on the road, I believe. He's now 21-23. Whether you like the guy or not, you start looking at the numbers and they don't look promising. Again, you always sort of revert back to who you are. The same things keep rearing their heads. It's not just the losses, it's how they're losing. And I think the fan base is I think they've kind of turned that page.
Yeah,
I think
they want a coaching change tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't think that a coaching change is happening yet because of that win over Texas. I think that that delayed or extended things, I guess, a little bit, however you want to characterize it. Obviously, this next matchup at home against Mississippi State is going to be telling to see how Florida responds and to see where the program and the administration go from here. I don't expect to change on Sunday, again, coming off of the win over Texas. But if you come back home against Mississippi State and lose that or look very, 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 very bad in that matchup after beating Texas at home, which won today against Oklahoma, and then obviously you got the Georgia game coming up, like there's not many more moments left, I think, here before something's going to have to shake.
We're going to get you out of here in a second, Zach. But again, a couple of things here. Most of their big preseason goals were still attainable, believe it or not, going into this game. Even with 3 losses, had they run the table, they could probably get into the playoffs. with one loss in the SEC, they certainly could have still gotten into the SEC championship game. Now you come home to face Mississippi State, and almost every single one of your significant major goals coming into this season are now off the table. Mentally, you're going to have to worry about where this team is moving forward now. Okay. Also, in 44 games coached at Florida, Billy Napier has only two winning streaks longer than 2 games. And that unevenness has wrecked a lot of coaches at the University of Florida in the past. And Zach, I just feel like we're headed down that same road. All right. For Zach Albaverdi, I am Keith Niebuhr. This was the Gators Online Show Rapid Reaction. Check out Zach's great work at gatorsonline.com. He's covered this game about as well as you could, given the circumstances. And we will do this again Monday with a wider look at the game and kind of where the program is right now. So I'm Keith Niebuhr. That's Zach Albaverdi. Thanks for stopping by. Hit the like and subscribe button below and go check out gatorsonline.com. Take care, everybody.
Good stuff, dude.